Hi guys, Harbs Narbs here. Today we're going to be talking about 3 famous vampires that could be in Baldur's Gate 3. Now, I'm not the biggest vampire fan in the world. If we had a scale from 1 to Tumblr, then I'm about here. Nevertheless, I do find some of the lore around them in the Forgotten Realms interesting, and Baldur's Gate games often like to have vampires in them. You may remember Bodhi and her coven of vampires from Baldur's Gate 2, and possibly slightly less relevant, but still relevant to the city itself, is Mordok Selanmir from Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. Hopefully some of the theories in this video will be of interest to you all. Obviously I'm not going to be talking about Astarion or Cazador, but if you'd like to see a separate video on Astarion's relationship with the Tsar family, then I've linked it down below. I must warn you before we get into it that this video will contain references to some datamined spoilers, so please don't watch it if you don't want to see anything. Okay, let's go. Number 1. Janda Sunstar. Janda was first introduced in 1991 in a novel called Vampire of the Mists by Christie Golden. Prior to becoming a vampire, Janda was a gold elf from the island of Evermeet. He left the Elven Isle to seek out adventure upon Faerun, and he found the adventure he had been seeking near the town of Daggerdale, which was then called Merrydale. According to the 2nd edition Villain's Lorebook, whilst Janda was protecting the community, a pack of vampires descended upon the town, and Janda was ambushed and betrayed by a friend turned undead after the main battle. As a newly born vampire spawn, Janda suffered through 100 years of servitude to a vampire called Cassiar. During this period, Janda never gave in and continued trying to be good, despite the dark curse upon him. Fortunately, Janda found a way to destroy his master and freed himself, although he was still a vampire. After wandering for a long time, surviving on the blood of evil bandits, Janda fell in love with a woman called Anna in the year 1098 DR. Anna was a patient of an asylum on the outskirts of the city of Waterdeep, and when she fell ill with a fever, Janda offered to turn her into a vampire, but she refused, dying in his arms. After her death, Janda discovered that Anna was actually not from his world. She was once a woman called Tatiana from a mysterious land called Barovia, driven mad by the vampire lord Strad von Zarovich after he killed his own brother Sergei, who was her husband. Tatiana killed herself but was saved by the mysterious mists that surround the land of Barovia, where they transported her to Toril. Swearing revenge on Strad, Janda travelled to Barovia and attempted to destroy the infamous vampire by offering his own life to Lathander, the Morning Lord. After the battle, both Strad and Janda were sorely wounded but still alive. Having failed to defeat Strad, Janda offered himself to Lathander once more, wishing to die in the glory of the morning sun. In the Villain's Lorebook, it is written, rumours have reached certain Faerunian ears of late that Janda did indeed survive the sunrise of that fateful morning. He was saved from annihilation by the mists. His hatred of Strad now spread to all vampires, whom he destroys at every opportunity. We didn't hear much about Janda after the Villain's Lorebook, which was released in 1998, until the adventure Descent into Avernus, where it is made known to us that Janda joined with the Hellriders when they were led by the then good Archangel Zariel into Avernus. Janda, like many of the other Hellriders who joined Zariel, ended up fleeing back through the portal to the material plane, leaving a wealth of their braver companions trapped in the first layer of the 9 Hells. After years of anguish and guilt over what he had done, Janda once more offered himself to Lathander, this time begging for mercy, but his prayer fell on deaf ears and he was condemned to the 9 Hells. We can come across Janda in Descent into Avernus, where he is being tortured by one of Zariel's lieutenants, Haruman. Swarms of Sturges are injecting Janda with the blood of other Hellriders. He can be found impaled on an iron tree and will beg for the player characters to cut him down so that his soul can potentially move on. Like many D&D adventures, it is left open-ended on what you do here, and it is not clear what happened to Janda. It is highly likely that we will be returning to Avernus in Baldur's Gate 3, and therefore we could come across Janda and be the ones to free him. Janda has experience in defeating his own vampire master and could be the one to provide Astarion with the means and secrets to defeat Cazador. And since he is a character that has been around for so long and has been reintroduced in 5th edition, I wonder if Wizards of the Coast and Larian will see it as fitting to potentially include him in future products. If you haven't heard of the Hell Riders, then I've linked a video down below regarding their history. Zevlor is also a Hell Rider, albeit now an exiled one. The story of the Hell Riders has changed canonically somewhat throughout the years, and there are a few inconsistencies in their story, which I believe Baldur's Gate 3 and Descent into Avernus are trying to address. Number 2. Strad von Zarovich. In data-mined content that has been around for a while, we can see the following list of portals that are potentially found in the Gith Kresh. The last one is called Howl, and seems to lead to Barovia, the domain of Strad and Janda Sunstar's most hated enemy. Strad wishes desperately to escape, but in order to do so it is believed that another must take his place, and this is covered somewhat in the adventure Curse of Strad. But it is clear that Strad is still alive and the ruler of Barovia in the present day. In the novel Death Masks, written by Ed Greenwood, there is a reference to Mordenkainen's madness, which he acquired through battling the Vampire Lord in Curse of Strad. Mordenkainen is a very powerful wizard, originally from the Greyhawk setting, but it means that there is some canonical reference to the adventure Curse of Strad. It had also been data mined that we will be getting Minsc as a companion, and this is important given that canonically Minsc has also had a recent run-in with Strad. In Shadows of the Vampire, Minsc and his adventuring party are transported to Barovia, where they face off against the vampire. Strad wishes to gain possession of an amulet that originally belonged to Tatiana. It is now in the possession of Delina, a wild mage that travels with the hamster-wielding ranger. The spirit of Strad's murdered brother protects the group, and using the amulet they escape Barovia with Strad's last words being, "Sergei may protect you now, but someday you will pay for this insult. A debt paid with blood and fire. The darkness of this place will haunt you. Within us all there is Ravenloft." Now, Minsc's memory was badly damaged in a comic book series called Infernal Tides, which came after Shadows of the Vampire, so he might not remember Strad in Baldur's Gate 3, but Strad likely remembers him, and I wonder if we do go to Barovia, whether the Vampire Lord will be there waiting for us, ready to seek his revenge upon Minsc. Number 3. Caresta Delvingstone. So before I get into this one, I actually think that it is fairly unlikely we will see her, but she is spoken about in the 5th edition adventure Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and is a powerful Shar worshipper who wants to stop at nothing to destroy those pesky Selûnites. She is described as follows. Caresta Delvingstone grew up in the streets of Waterdeep, and is no stranger to hardship. Hoping to make a better life for herself, she became an adventurer and sought fame and fortune in Undermountain. Caresta met her end in the lair of a vampire, and became a vampire spawn under its command. But we'll come back to her in a second. Let's quickly take a look at someone called Vanrak Moonstar, of House Moonstar in Waterdeep. Vanrak's father, Lord Andvaran Moonstar, died of a strange wasting disease in the year 1104 DR. When he died, Vanrak assumed leadership of his house, and he publicly broke with the Temple of Selûne, which he blamed for his father's untimely death. Consumed with bitterness, Vanrak secretly embraced Shar, the Lady of Loss. Vanrak conquered level 18 of Undermountain, which was the lair of Caresta's vampire master. Long story short, Vanrak transformed himself into a Death Knight and renamed this level of Undermountain Vanrak Doom. He took Caresta under his wing, and she rose to become a vampire cleric of Shar's debased cult. Interestingly, Gale talks about Undermountain in Baldur's Gate 3, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it could be where Gale found Cartus's book. But not only that, Undermountain is also connected through a portal to Kresh Kalir, Lae'zel's former home.
But I witnessed a similar standoff back at the Yawning Portal. Of course, an establishment like that invites all sorts of outlandish entertainments. An inn in Waterdeep. Ooh, never a dull moment there. Adventurers come from all over Faerun to try their luck down the well. Leads into the Undermountain, you see, full of death, danger, vast amounts of treasure. Hard to resist.
Anyway, skip forward to 1436 DR, and Vanrak wanted to renounce his faith in Shar and return to Selûne. Using a Sunblade, he destroyed his undead form, whereby Caresta then took over as the leader of Vanrak Doom. Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage was confirmed by Christopher Perkins to be set in 1492 DR, the same year as Baldur's Gate 3, and according to the campaign guide, Caresta wishes to destroy the House of the Moon in Waterdeep, which is a temple of Selûne, and who she blames for the destruction of her former master Vanrak. We can see in the 3rd edition adventure, Vanrak Doom, that it is Vanrak that is in control of the Dark Army of Night, a group of dedicated followers of Shah that rather famously and embarrassingly tried to kidnap the Avatar of Selûne during the Time of Troubles, which actually turned out to be Shah impersonating her sister. Despite the Army of Night dressing in bondage gear and attempting to kidnap their own goddess, they have been successful in other missions, like in 1182 DR when Vanrak's followers infiltrated the High House of Stars and slaughtered most of its inhabitants. So Caresta has now taken control of Vanrak Doom in 1492, and with it the Army of Night. They are the most powerful Sharan sect in current lore near to Baldur's Gate, but Sharan sects are very secretive. We don't know the details of the Sharans that await Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate. Larian, in conjunction with Wizards of the Coast, are likely creating an entirely new sect headed up by a group that isn't associated with Waterdeep's Caresta Delving Stone. But saying that, having the Sharan sect from Undermountain involved would be interesting, due to what I said before with Undermountain being connected directly to Kresh Kalir, not to mention that there are warring Illithids and Githyanki there that would have given Shadowheart a chance to infiltrate either group to steal the mysterious artifact. If you want more on that theory, then I've linked the video down below. What the Sharans want with this artifact is currently a mystery. In Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, a map can be found in Caresta's quarters which shows a plan for the Sharans of that sect to attack the Temple of Lathander and the Temple of Selûne in Waterdeep, with names of clerics and paladins of both temples that Caresta plans to assassinate. But it is unsurprising for a cult of Shah to be planning such an attack, not to mention that it is also written that Caresta turns the most promising acolytes of Shah in her sect into vampire spawns, of which Shadowheart is not. So you can see why, compared to Strad and Janda, it is far more unlikely that Caresta could be involved with Baldur's Gate 3. However, the Dark Army of Night are no doubt a very interesting part of Sharan lore. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I sincerely think that there is a high chance of seeing Janda and Strad, but I'm not so confident about Caresta. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video then do please give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!